What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are First. Welcome in to another edition of the NFL Weekly here on the network. We break down everything the NFL has to offer. It is week 5 already. And of course, with me, as always, is to break it down is my friend and co-host, Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Mr. Martinez at Raider Jim 1090. How you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, I'm doing real well. What a wild start to the season. I mean, between injuries and underperforming teams, it's just wacky. And to think we've got 13 weeks left, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's just when you think you got a bit of a pulse on things. Okay, maybe Atlanta is a bit overrated. Maybe we got to question Michael Penix. And hey, maybe Carolina's taking a turn. And now they got a chance to go to New England. And we just realized, nope, we have no idea really what is going on. But I will say, it's a nice microcosm for how my betting season has gone in the NFL. I went 4-4, and I felt even technically in the negatives because you got to pay the vig when you go 4-4, but it felt like a win. I don't know. It's kind of sad, but right now I will say the end of the weekend was a little rough, and this will kind of be our segue into our first topic. Always looking back at week 4. Obviously, look, if you're a football fan overall, hopefully you got a chance to watch some college football because Saturday may have been one of the best days on paper, and then living up to it, it was incredible. Sunday games were good. Sunday night's game was amazing until we got to kiss our sister and the tie. And then on top of that, we get 2 of probably the biggest blowouts of the season, not even Monday night blowouts, just big time blowouts. Kind of a bit of a bummer end to week 4, but Raider Jim, your thoughts on the week overall?
Oh, wow. I've got all these little tiny notes. Usually it's just 1, 2, or 3 that I feel like it's worth mentioning, but you got to say kudos to Jaxson Dart, man. Yep. He did it. He got them back on track. And I'll tell you what, I think I've got down in my notes that they're probably going to win 2 in a row. And that would be quite a feat, wouldn't it? I don't know how I feel about Russell Wilson, kind of taking the back seat in this one. But at the same time, you got to do what you got to do. Somebody's got to fall on the sword and all those little cliches that we use at this time. But congratulations to the Giants and the Giant fans who finally got to go to bed and wake up on Monday morning and talk about the big victory. Kansas City, they look like they're back. That's for darn sure. That was old Kansas City, and what a difference a Worthy makes. Because I think having him back there just really gave Patrick that one extra target that he needed, reliable target. And that kid is just quick, but they played a great game all the way around. Fun game to watch, and kudos to them. Poor Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, just nothing has gone right for them this season. You and I both said, I think both of you and I thought they are going to challenge the Bills, and this could be the year they finally make up for everything they haven't done. Wow, I think that I understand it's early, but they're going to have to work to get to the playoffs, I think. And a couple more miscues like they've had over the first 4 weeks, and not going to be good. Like I said, you get to the Bengals, and what do you got? You got a quarterback, initials JB, and that's where it stops. That was the comparison, and that's all you're going to get. Poor Bengals. I don't know what they're going to do. They're not going to it's just not going to get any easier for the next 4 or 5 weeks. So, hearts out to that fan base. Tyreek Hill, whether you like him, whether you hate him, whether you appreciate him, or you really just don't have feelings for him one way or the other, I don't want to see anybody get hurt like that guy got hurt. And I haven't even seen it. I understand it wasn't a contact really, and it wasn't that big of a thing. But they said his knee dislocated, he ripped his ACL, and he ripped a bunch of other ligaments. 31 years old.
Yeah.
32 by the time he's fully recovered. Odds are Tyreek has seen his best days and he may never be back on the field, because that's a big gamble if you put him back in the lineup. Dylan Gabriel going to get the start in Cleveland. Joe Flacco only moves down one spot. So guess what that means? Shedeur Sanders is still the third best quarterback in Cleveland, who I understand was on some show or somebody brought him on and had the nerve to sit there and say, I'm looking at some of these quarterbacks that are starting in the NFL and I'm better than them. And that is the product of a spoiled kid whose dad runs his mouth and lets the kid run his mouth. Because my dad would have cuffed me and said, shut your mouth. Until you're the starter, you don't talk like that. But that didn't happen in their household, apparently. So that's an interesting one for me. And then also, when everything wasn't wacky enough, we get, like you said, a tie.
Yeah.
And then the way it went down, I was just like, does nobody know clock management? Do you not know your opponent? If you give them that much time, it's gonna happen. Sure enough, it happened. So it was kind of a fun week, really.
Yeah, it was a very weird week, and the tie, obviously, I mean, a 40-40 tie. There needs to be, first of all, ties should not exist. I mean, we talk about player safety. I get that. Meanwhile, we're going to play Thursday games where, I mean, in 5 years, we're going to be playing a game in Antarctica, I'm sure. So it's hard to get that. I mean, I literally prefer a new coin toss, and then whoever wins the coin toss gets the win. Just because I'm thinking down the line when it comes to, I mean, obviously for the Packers, and I really do think for the Cowboys. Cowboys have impressed me. When you get down to the playoffs, trying to factor in a darn tie, not even the minuscule part of our Sunday night. I mean, you stay up to watch that, and it ends in a tie. But down the line, this is really gonna. It's not going to be as cut and dry for us non-math whizzes out there, and I don't think there's a whole lot of math whizzes in the football community. So that's a bummer, but I'm glad that where you started, because for me, I do believe the storyline of week 4 is Jaxson Dart and what they were able to do, not only just in the game, but against a team that I think we all thought in the Chargers were maybe an AFC contender, one that would be able to challenge the Chiefs, Bills, and at the time Ravens. And again, I don't think the Chargers are in, oh my gosh, but I think it's a wake-up call for them. But this is more about the Giants and Jaxson Dart, because not only did Jaxson Dart do what he needed to do, but that really young defense was very, very good. That defensive line, I'm telling you, when it comes to Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, and there's someone else on there, relatively young. He's kind of the veteran on there, but his name escapes me. But they have the makings of a very good team. Now, it is a bit unfortunate because if you're a Giants fan, you feel, hey, we might have found our quarterback for the future. It seems like almost instantaneously you lost your wide receiver for the future. And that's very difficult. Obviously, Malik Neighbors, I believe it's been confirmed he's done for the year. Very sad to see that. One of the really bright young wide receivers in the game. So a little bit of a monkey's paw situation there for the Giants, but I do think that was the big story of the weekend. And going to the Bengals, obviously.
One more on the Giants.
Yes, please.
I think Brian Burns is the other guy you were thinking of. Holy cow.
Yeah. Yep, thank you. And he was they traded for him, so I mean they didn't draft him, so I think that's why his name escapes me. But yeah, that defensive line, that defense in general, if they can get a little bit from their offense, watch out. Now, the one thing I will say, just to finish up things on Jaxson Dart, I think teams are going to force him to throw the ball more.
Sure.
He may be perfectly fine doing that. I'm not saying he's not capable. I really do like Jaxson Dart, even as an Eagles fan, even at Ole Miss. Take that Florida game out. But anyways, I do think going forward, you're going to see more spies. You're going to see more clinical rushes of keeping him in the pocket. And again, that's what the NFL is all about. It's about adjusting because the defenses already are adjusting to you. How do you react to it? But the other side of it is the Bengals. Because as you mentioned, the similarities end at the initials. Jake Browning, coming into this season, I was kind of like, yeah, he's okay. And unfortunately, the last few weeks, he has shown that he is not going to be good enough to compete in the NFL if the Bengals want to compete. But you brought up a name earlier that I think is interesting. This is the moment right now for the Bengals. If they are serious, that division is wide open. Wide open. You can make a case for all 4 teams in the AFC North if the Bengals can get an average quarterback. And there are options out there, whether it is Russell Wilson, whether it is Jameis Winston, who knows? Maybe they wait for 2 weeks, and there are going to be plenty of people who roll their eyes when I say this, but maybe when JJ McCarthy gets back, Carson Wentz is available to start. And look,
Absolutely.
You might not like Carson Wentz a lot, but if you're going to sit here and tell me, would you rather watch Jake Browning on Monday night or Carson Wentz? Come on now. So there are options out there. Will they pull the trigger? That ownership group is notoriously fine with not being good, and being very diplomatic with that. But the Bengals need to figure something out. But there's time. Again, they have the pieces there. They're just missing a quarterback. It's not easy to fix mid-season, but again, if they can go out, even a Russell Wilson playing an average ball, I think could really elevate the Bengals. And again, that division, who do you trust right now? Even with Pittsburgh playing pretty darn well, eventually something's going to happen in that locker room. So
right.
That AFC North wide open. I think the Bengals need to pull a trigger now, but we shall see. Time to move on to week 5. Of course, this is the beginning of the buys, and unfortunately, I meant to write them down. I did not, but there are some buys going on. Of course, we do have a London game going on as well. We aren't going to dive too deep into that just because, well, you'll know why if you see the game. But anyways, we are going to start, as always, in the AFC West and the Las Vegas Raiders. A heartbreak on Sunday. They are heading to Indianapolis to face the Colts, another team that, geez, if Adai Mitchell just maybe doesn't hold somebody and, well, hold on to the ball all the way through the end zone, maybe the Colts are undefeated. But anyways, the Colts are going to host the Vegas Raiders. Colts are going to be 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is 48. Money line side of things, Raiders plus 250, Indianapolis minus 300. These odds are as of Wednesday, October 1st. Nobody talks Raider football before Raider Jim on this network. So, Mr. Martinez, the floor is yours.
Okay, first of all, let me start with anybody that's listening that is a member of the Raider Nation. As I've been saying on X since game time Sunday, let's just all calm down about Ashton Genty has arrived. Let's take it easy. One game, one good run. And granted, it was a good run, but still, let's wait. He does it this week, next week, the week after. Okay, he's arrived. Until then, he still hasn't proven it to me. And now what's happened? Now Colton Miller is hurt. Raiders have lost Colton Miller. That's not a good thing. That offensive line was already suspect, and now you've got Colton Miller down. Whoever they have under center is going to be running for their lives if they don't find a fix real quick. They're going against Indianapolis, and I saw something that I thought was a very, very bad slight, if you will, to Indianapolis, because the writer did his recap of the Ram game, and he made it sound like Indianapolis really got schooled, and, well, they got brought back down to earth. And it's like, dude, they were competing the entire time. It's what you said. So don't give me this. It's not like they weren't in the game, and it's not like they got real close. And play that game again, and guess what? I think Indianapolis wins it. Indianapolis, number 8 versus the rush. Now, granted, who they've gone up against, the Rams, Miami, Denver, Tennessee, not the best running games when you get to Miami, Denver, and Tennessee, but still, they're holding their own against the rush. They've got a good defense. That's it all the way around. Defensive backs, and they've got edge guys. Their line's pretty stout. So let's see what Ashton Jenney can put up against these guys. I like the point spread. Do they cover by 6.5? Yeah, I think Indiana will, because they may even beat them by a full touchdown. I'll take that half point, though.
Mm-hmm.
The over-under on this one, I think you got to go under 48 on this, because I don't see the Raiders putting up more than 17 points. And Indiana, even if they were to put up 30, guess what? We're only at 47. So give me Indianapolis minus 6.5 and another long Sunday for Raider Jim.
Yeah, I don't know if I have the authority to do this, but I would also like to speak to Raider Nation. And while, look, Raider Jim is definitely the president of Raider Nation on this podcast, I would also like to tell Raider Nation, drink the Kool-Aid. Raider Jim in a few weeks will drink the Kool-Aid. Don't worry, he'll be right there with you. I'm calling it. And I've been high on Ashton Jenney probably since his junior year at Boise, or I guess I should say a sophomore year at Boise. I think the best part about what Jenney came into is the expectations for the team were low. Even for a 5th overall pick, you look at some of these quarterbacks that go very high, the expectations are very high as well. I don't think anybody expected Ashton Jenney to be the person that turned this team around. The offensive line is going to be an issue going forward, and that might delay Raider Jim's Kool-Aid drinking, but I promise you by the end of the year, Raider Jim's lips will be red or orange or whatever. I guess black and gold. I guess that Kool-Aid, never tried it. But no, I really do think Ashton Jenney is going to get things going more consistently. But the biggest issue for this team are the turnovers. You cannot be a team like the Raiders who don't have a ton of talent and turn the ball over the way they do. Geno Smith has to figure something out. I don't know what the leash looks like, but I know he signed a big contract, but I got to imagine Kenny Pickett, as crazy as it sounds, I mean, if he goes out and throws another multi-interception game, I think you have to ask questions. And again, is Kenny Pickett the answer? I'm not saying he is, but Geno might very well not be, and we have a lot more evidence of that right now. In terms of this game, I'm right there with you. I think the Colts, again, they're holding on to the ball through the end zone away from going to overtime, and then who knows? Excuse me. And I think Daniel Jones going cross country and finally playing a team that we all kind of expect to be in the playoff mix. I think even in a loss, the Colts were actually more impressive than they have been going forward. But in this one, I like the Colts. I'm going to buy a half a point just to get it to 6, just in case. And I'm going to go under as well. I need the Raiders to prove that they can score against good defenses, because with all due respect to the Bears, I don't think their defense is great, maybe average at best. Colts defense, as you mentioned, Raider Jim, 8th against the run. And you don't need to be great against the pass right now against the Raiders. Who knows? Maybe they turn a page this week, but the passing game needs to change. And again, the health of Brock Bowers, I don't know. It's a question mark. Seems like week to week, that's going to be an issue if they cannot fully get him, activated or fully firing on all cylinders, because they are weapon deprived, and Ashton Jenney is not going to be that type of back. So that's not something that he has in his bag, unfortunately. But so yeah, both on Indianapolis here and the under. Moving on, but staying in the AFC West, we're going all the way to Monday night, and this one might be a pretty good one. It's going to be Kansas City heading to Jacksonville. The Chiefs are going to be 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 46. On the money line side of things, Kansas City minus 185, Jacksonville plus 160. Raider Jim, your thoughts? Chiefs at Jags Monday night.
This might be a little more entertaining than meets the eye. I think Jacksonville is going to show up and play a very good game offensively. If they've got the right scheme, I think they can work against the Kansas City defense. The thing about Kansas City and the game that they just played, were they that good? Are they back? Or is Baltimore not as good as we all thought? You know, you take both of those and meet halfway, and maybe Kansas City's just mediocre still. But they're going to find out one thing that Jacksonville has on their side. Through the first 4 games, 9 interceptions. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of takeaways. And so they're just going to be in the back, just waiting for the ball to get put in the air. See how the secondary does. Unfortunately for Jacksonville, Eric Murray, their safety, questionable with a neck injury. If he's not back there and they've got to go with the backup, that could be a little dicey for Jacksonville, but still, let's see what the line can do, what kind of pressure they can put on, and see how well they cover those receivers. Who's going to cover Worthy? I don't know. That kid just, like I say, I just got a lot of respect for his speed, and he definitely, you have to focus on him. If you don't key on him, you're going to get burned, and if you do key on him, you're going to get burned because there's other people that Patrick can throw to. So it's really going to come down to which defense can keep the offense into the game. I actually would take a point on this one and go Jacksonville plus 4.5. Over under, I think I'll take a half point and go over 45. I think we're going to see some points on Monday Night Football. No weather issues from what I saw.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville has kind of flown under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
There was a very contentious Travis Hunter pass interference call that really cost them in their only loss. And this is a team, again, that we've been waiting for Trevor Lawrence to take a step forward. And he did a few years ago, and then it almost seems like he took a step back or two. But for me, the story of this team is Travis Etienne. I think he has finally blossomed into what we saw at Clemson and what we expect to see going forward. I am very, very intrigued by this matchup because this is the ultimate measuring stick for the Jaguars. Also, if you remember a few years ago, this was a Jaguar team that in the divisional round was leading at halftime against Kansas City. Now, I get it. They didn't pull it out, but I don't think this team is necessarily intimidated, or at least Trevor Lawrence isn't.
No.
And being at home Monday night, I think there's going to be a lot of, pressure on Kansas City. It's kind of their first national TV game since they figured it out, quote unquote. And on Kansas City side of things, it was very impressive to see what Xavier Worthy was able to unlock for them. And it's kind of scary what questions you have to ask what happens when Rashee Rice enters back into the equation, because that might even be even bigger story. As much as I like Xavier Worthy, I think Rashee Rice is a more complete wide receiver at this moment.
Absolutely.
And that's a scary situation. You're still going to have Hollywood Brown and obviously Worthy and Kelsey. So, but in terms of this game, obviously, I see a 3.5 point spread, and it's very hard for me to take the negative side of it. So give me Jacksonville. I'm going to take them plus 3.5. Butker comes out late, kicks a late field goal. That's okay. We enjoyed our night. I cashed my ticket. And I'm going over as well. Jacksonville's defense is good. Kansas City's defense has been good. I don't know. I think this is going to be a game. Like I said, Jacksonville wants to prove on national TV, not only that they can compete with Kansas City, but they can beat Kansas City. And if Jacksonville gets the win here, that will, I think, open a lot of people's eyes to what Jacksonville can do in that division and in the AFC overall. But either way, if you're going to give me a team that I really think is flying under the radar and you're going to give me 3.5 points, I mean, that's a layup for me. Whether or not it goes in, that's another question. But over under, give me the over again. I think the offenses get going. I think I will buy a 0.5 point though. Nobody likes a push. So give me 45.5 on the over under.
There you go.
Yeah. Moving on to this is where our divisions get a little incestuous. as we, of course, do have the NFC East and the AFC West locking horns this year. It's going to be the Washington Commanders heading to Los Angeles to face the Chargers. Chargers are going to be 3-point favorites. Over under is 48. All signs point to Jaden Daniels playing in this game. Haven't heard anything to the contrary. I mean, it was pretty much announced right after the Commanders loss that Jaden Daniels was going to be back this week. So that is ready to roll. But Raider Jim, I'll let you have first bite at the apple. Commanders at Chargers.
Yeah, going to be a good game. Right now, I see Chargers -2.5. That's what the line is right now, and 48. Here's my concern for the Chargers. One, they are now bar trivia for the rest of this year. Hey, so who did the Giants get their first victory in after 17 weeks of losing? Oh, I know, it was the Chargers. That's one of those things you just don't want to have on your resume. At the same time, good inspiration. I'm sure that they went into the locker room afterwards and Monday morning in the rooms, and it was like, guys, we can't do that. The AFC West was ours to take, could be ours still to take, but if Kansas City's sharp and if Kansas City is on the rise, Chargers are going to have some problems. One of the areas where they're going to have problems, as good as he is, as good as he's playing, and I like Herbert a lot, he's only thrown 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games, and that's to say something. Positively, they can put points on the board. They're capable of doing that. Washington has allowed 27, 24, and 34 out of the first 4 games. So they're not this big defensive juggernaut. And I think that's what's going to happen is the Chargers will expose them. I'm glad that the Washington gets their quarterback back, but I'd be treat him gingerly. You want to make sure that the offensive line does not let him get touched at all. Positively for Washington, Khalil Mack's not playing. Charger defensive line is a little bit banged up. So they're going to be able to put some points on the board. Is this game going to go over 48? I don't think so. So give me half a point, make it 47.5. But I do think the Chargers cover the 2.5. No problem.
I agree with you. The Chargers losing Joe Alt is an issue. It's not a season thing. But it is going to be multiple weeks, and it's definitely for this one. But you kind of hit the nail on the head. I don't think Washington's defense is good enough to take advantage of that. And until they prove otherwise, I think you have to expect Justin Herbert to go out and, look, if Michael Penix can go drop back and fling the ball all over against this defense, I think you have to expect Justin Herbert to do the same at home in this one. I think Chargers -2.5. Again, this is kind of the negative side of it, at least in terms of the symbol, not the actual thought process. But if you give me a -2.5 point spread, it's going to be very hard for me to take the plus side of that. So I got no problem. Dicker, the kicker, coming out final seconds, kicking a field goal to break 27-27 game. And that'll also get us over. So give me the Chargers -2.5 over, what was it? 48. Yes, 48. Moving on to the Denver Broncos heading across country to face my Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are going to be 4-point favorites. The over-under is 43.5. Money line side of things, +175 for the Broncos, -210 for the Eagles. And obviously, look, before I get to this game, got a little bit of housekeeping. It seems like every week there is some sort of outside BS. Well, not really outside, but just off the field. Just why are we talking about this? But obviously the Eagles did improve to 4-0. An incredible first half, and as good as the first half was, offensively, that's as bad as the second half was. It was Jalen Hurts, I believe, became the second quarterback ever to go 0 for 8 with 0 yards in the second half and still win the game. It wasn't great, but again, at the end of the day, the Philadelphia Eagles are 4-0. They have beaten the defending AFC champs. they've beaten their biggest division rival in the Cowboys. And now they've beaten the Los Angeles Rams and a team that I think in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a lot of people thought might be one of the biggest contenders to the Eagles outside of the Lions. And the Eagles went down on the road, got the job done. And then after the game, AJ Brown doing AJ Brown stuff, posting some, and look, I know some Bible verses, things like that. But when you're going to go out and sulk, don't use the Bible. Don't use a Bible verse for that. Right. That's not really what it's for. But anyways, I don't have the exact tweet. I'm sure you've all seen it by now, but essentially kind of saying, oh, if I'm not needed, I'll just shrug my shoulders and walk away. Again, paraphrasing. But what I need to say to Mr. Brown, because I know he listens intently. Look, I was looking and trying to find ways to agree with you because you're a very, very talented wide receiver. And at the end of the day, this is kind of what wide receivers do. You lead the team in targets with 27. You were targeted 9 times. There were 2 receptions. The entire second half game plan was trying to force feed you the ball so that this wouldn't happen. And how did the second half go? 0 for 8 for 0 yards because we have to make him happy. And again, it didn't cost us this week. Hopefully it won't going forward. The Philadelphia Eagles are 4-0. AJ Brown needs to run his routes, catch his targets, and shut the bleep up. He's been paid. He's got his contract. There's no big time awards that he's going to need to win to make more money. Shut up, play football, win football games, and get in line. Check your ego. You think Jamar Chase would love to be on the Eagles right now? There are so many wide receivers that would jump over anyone to be in your position. So with that being said, this is going to be a very, very interesting game for, I think, the Broncos. Because, look, last week, whether you like it or not, you have to put an asterisk over that. As good as Bo Nix looked, it was kind of like, yeah, but it was the Bengals. And this is certainly not the Bengals. The Eagles' defense has been playing very well. And they've forced teams into a lot of turnovers. And obviously, the special teams came into play again with a blocked punt for a touchdown early on in that one. I think the Eagles continue to do what they do. Oh, and another thing, AJ Brown, the Philadelphia Eagles run the ball like 65% of the time as well. So you're also not going to get a ton of targets that maybe Texas Tech and Mike Leach, God rest his soul, needs you in the air raid, but you're not in an air raid offense. Anyways, Philadelphia Eagles are going to, I believe, run the ball down the throats of Denver, and it might not be great early on, but I think what happens with the Eagles is they wear you down, and by the fourth quarter, that offensive line has leaned on you so much, those holes do open up a lot more than they do early in the game. I like Philadelphia in this one. I'm going to buy a 0.5 point. Give me Philadelphia -3.5. I think they make Bo Nix's life hell. They get after him. And Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, they are playing very, very well. We really do need that cornerback 2 position to really solidify whether it is Adoree Jackson or someone else. That will be the last piece, I believe, for this defense. With that being said, 43.5, I think is a little low. Obviously, I know the Eagles have had offensive struggles, but they have shown the ability to get into, the 20s. I think they win this game 28-20, and we cover and we go over. So give me Philadelphia -3.5 and the over 43.5. Raider Jim, your thoughts, Denver at Philadelphia.
Yeah, sometimes that's that old adage, sometimes better lucky than good. And if that's what Philadelphia had to be last week, all I know is you stand back if you're a member of the Philadelphia Eagle fan base and you say, hey, we're 4-0. that's
Exactly.
that's what counts. Now, Denver on the other side of it, Denver, who after week one, everybody was saying, "Oh, Denver, Denver, Denver." Okay, Denver's playing at 500 right now, 2-2. But look who they beat. They beat the beat up and depleted Cincinnati Bengals, and week one they beat Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Who, wow, what do you even say about the way Tennessee's playing football this year? You put them out there against caliber teams like the Colts, the Rams, and the Chargers. Guess what? They couldn't get the job done. They're not going to get the job done against Philadelphia. I think the Philadelphia defense, as you said, is going to make Bo Nix work for it on Sunday. Every point that he gets, every yard that he gets, and I think they're just going to have total control of the line up front. So it's going to be interesting to see. I do like the Denver defensive backs, but again, how much pressure can you really get onto the Eagles quarterback? We'll wait and see. I like Philadelphia in this one also at 3.5, and I do like over 43.5 myself. So good luck to your Eagles on Sunday. I think they got another victory coming, and we'll finish the week 5-0.
Yeah, it's good times in Philadelphia for pretty much everyone. Obviously the Phillies as well. That city's going to be. I love the Phillies. Obviously, I want the Padres to win it all, but for the sake of Philadelphia, 2 parades in 1 year. I don't know if the city's ready for that. I'm not sure the country's ready for that. So, as much as I'd like to see the Phillies win the World Series, the city might not survive. But in all seriousness, 2 final thoughts on the Eagles. As you mentioned, Raider Jim, 4-0, and they've played maybe a C-plus game as their best, and they're already 4-0 against that competition. So definitely something to keep in mind going forward for the Eagles. And one final thought, I know everybody just realized how diabolical things got when that fake tush push was executed to that's got to just make people, I've seen the videos, people are just beside themselves, mainly Cowboy fans. But yeah, I love it. Absolutely, absolutely love it. Now you just don't know. Anyways, moving on to our final our second to last AFC East game NFC East game of the week. It's going to be the Dallas Cowboys heading to the AFC East New York Jets. The Dallas Cowboys on the road, 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 47. Money line side of things, minus 145 for the Cowboys, plus 125 for the Jets. I'll get this one started. Obviously, the Bengals looked pretty bad. They at least had an excuse. The Jets don't really have an excuse. This is the quarterback that they wanted. This is the team that they've needed to put together. And I'll be honest, that first drive, it looked like they were going to go old school smash mouth football. We're going to run it down your throats all game. And then you cough it up at the 1 yard line. And then everything just went down. Justin Fields. I mean, the fumble on 4th down, it didn't really matter because it was 4th down anyway, but it was kind of a microcosm for how bad that team is. And again, it's not like they were going up against Brady and the Patriots. That was the Dolphins, who we probably still have plenty of questions about. But the Jets are going to be hosting this one. And on the other side of it, Dallas, I think, impressed a lot of people. Their defense is still going to need some work, but against the Jets, I don't think it's going to matter. I like the Cowboys on the road here. Minus 2.5. I think their offense is just as dynamic, even without CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens had an incredible game. Consistency is always a little bit of an issue with George Pickens, but we'll see. Maybe he's turned a corner. Going forward, he's going to be the top target, I would assume, for pretty much majority of these games. So plenty of opportunities to really make an impact for this team. Give me Dallas minus 2.5. In terms of the over-under, I'm going to go under, because as bad as Dallas's defense is, the Jets offense is it is as bad as it gets. I know statistically it's probably not the worst, but I watched that game for 2.5 hours and I felt like I was being waterboarded. So give me Dallas 2.5 and minus 2.5 and the under 47. Raider Jim, your thoughts, Dallas at the Jets.
Yeah, you pretty much summed it up, and I will tell you the Jets are just abysmal. Boy, I hope that somebody didn't say down the road. I don't know the Monday night schedule, the Thursday night schedule. I just hope we don't have Tennessee and the Jets playing each other anytime soon, because that would be, wow, cure for insomnia. Dallas, Dak Prescott, 10 years. Do you realize that? He has been in the league 10 years. And you like to see good things happen to good people. I just don't know if it's ever going to happen to Dak Prescott, and it's too bad. He's going to continue to go out there, be a competitor, and be successful. Pickens, you said it. Inconsistency's been the thing, but after the game he had the other night, my goodness, that was a game. He really stepped up, and sometimes that's all you need. Kind of like that change of scenery for the kid quarterbacking the Colts there. Change of scenery, one good game like this, he's got the confidence. What I really appreciated was to see CD Lamb so excited on the sideline. That's a team player right there. And that's one thing that maybe the Cowboys do have going for them, is as bad as their defense is. I think they go into New York, take care of business. I'm with you. I'll take the 2.5. They can put up points.
Yeah.
They can put up points.
I know. They might do it all themselves.
But I don't know that the Jets are going to put up points, even against a bad offense. But I'll take a half point and go over 46.5 in this one. But, yeah, I think the Jets fans are going to be, booing and screaming and probably wishing they had Aaron Rodgers back.
Yeah, I think you got to be a gambling masochist to touch the over-under line on this one, especially with that juicy, the spread. I'm sorry. And Dallas isn't the greatest road team ever, but again, we're talking about the Jets here. Very, very sad performance. And Raider Jim, just a heads up, I kind of put together for my family, I put together like the pools for our pick'em, and I will say, luckily, I don't think we'll have any Titans. Now, I can't speak for Thursday night because everybody plays Thursday night, so we'll have to deal with them once. No prime time for Tennessee. I don't think we have any more Jets, but we're going to be seeing a lot of Cincinnati, like Thanksgiving.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's bad, and like Monday nights, like not flexible games. So just everyone get yourself prepared. Enjoy Kansas City, Jacksonville, because we do have some interesting prime times coming up. But with that being said, moving on to our second to last game we'll be chronicling here. It is the New York Football Giants heading down south to the Bayou to face the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are going to be 2.5-point favorites in this one. The over-under is 40.5, plus 115 on the money line for the Giants, minus 135 for the Saints. So I feel like I'm a broken record at least once a week right now. I didn't think we were always going to have an Admiral Akbar game of the week, but this is a trap. This feels like a trap. There was a candy all the way up to this little cage, and there's a big old Snickers in there, and I think I want to grab it, even though I know it's a cage. I'm going to take the Giants on the money line here. I understand it was one game, and I'm one of the biggest proponents of you got to figure it out. I always bring up Austin Davis, the 1 year or the one game wonder of the St. Louis Rams back 10, 15 years ago. But I think Jaxson Dart is a good quarterback, and I've never had a whole lot of confidence in my scouting of college quarterbacks, how they go to the NFL, because the results aren't great. But if I like a quarterback and he looks good, I'm going to keep riding it. So I like the Giants, even though I'm like 94% sure this is a trap. Give me the Giants plus 115. And I like the over in the 40.5 here. I think the Giants are going to put some points up. I know that the Saints offense is not great. And I talked at the beginning of this show about the Giants defense and how good they are. I do think Kellen Moore is going to be able to get as much out of this offense going forward. Not a lot, but again, 40.5, you don't need a ton. If we get 24 or if we get 28 from the Giants, I only need 13 from the Saints, and I can see that going forward. So Give me the Giants plus 115 on the money line. I'm going to leave the spread alone, and over 40.5. Raider Jim, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. I saw your notes when you sent it over, and I was online thinking this can't be right.
Yep.
And it's like, no, every side I went to said New Orleans is going to be the at-home favorite, -1.5. Who did this? Because I'm with you. It's like this is a trap.
Mm-hmm.
This is something's going on. It's kind of like, who was it the other? It was Bears Dallas.
Yeah, and
Bears Dallas,
that was
and it's
the
just
trap
like,
closed.
there's no way. There's no way. But I don't think that's going to be the case this time. I think the Giants are going to go in. I think they're going to find out it's a real deal under center for the Giants. They're going to move the ball. I'm with you. They're going to put up points. I can see them putting up 24 on New Orleans. Can New Orleans put up at least 20? I think they'll do that too. So let's see what happens. But real plain and simple, not a whole bunch to talk about on this one for me. Give me the Giants on the money line and I'll take a full point. Give me the Giants money line over 39.5.
Yeah. I believe this will be, I think Spencer Rattler, he's either 0-9 in his career as a starter or 0-10. And I generally try and keep things positive, but like 5 or 6 years ago, I think it was on Netflix, there was this documentary about, it was like quarterbacks, and it was high school 5-star quarterbacks, and Spencer Rattler was one of them.
Right.
And oh my gosh, if you watch that, and don't get me wrong, pretty much all of the quarterbacks that are portrayed in that come off. I mean, we all went to high school, right? We all know what the quarterback, that bravado is. Anyways, it's really easy not to like the guy. And I'm not saying that that's what you need to do, but watching that at 18, I would not want cameras to follow me around at 18, by the way. But I always think about that when I just kind of chuckle to myself, like, But at the end of the day, he is in the NFL. So, joke's on me. Anyways, moving on to the final game we will dive in depth to. This is an interesting one to me. It is the Houston Texans at the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, the Houston Texans are going to be 1.5 point favorites on the road. 39.5 is the over-under. -125 for Houston on the money line, plus 105 for Baltimore. Raider Jim, obviously this line makes me believe Lamar Jackson is not going to be playing. I will check as I ask for your thoughts. Houston at Baltimore.
Yeah, I've seen mixed things, but what the lean is that he will not be under center this week and possibly even the week after this. And if that's the case, what a difference the lack of him under center makes, because when was the last time you saw Baltimore over under 40 points?
Yeah.
I mean, that's silly. But if he's not going to be under center and Houston's playing pretty decent ball, guess what? I agree with what the professional handicappers are saying. I'm going to take money line on Houston on this one, but I think they will go out there. The defense will put up a good game. Offense is going to put up points. Baltimore is going to struggle, and it's going to show. And I think it's panic time in Baltimore. I think they're going to fall to 1-4. So give me money line Houston over under 39.5. I think it's going to be under 39.5. I don't think a lot of points are going to get put up.
Yeah. It's interesting because the last few years, obviously, I don't think Lamar Jackson has played in all 17 games in his career. But they've always had a guy like Tyler Huntley or a guy like maybe even Josh Johnson that can kind of quasi run that offense with a bit of a more mobile quarterback. Well, now they have Cooper Rush, and I Cooper Rush, a good backup for the Cowboys, but it doesn't exactly translate in terms of, athletic ability. So that's going to be interesting. Maybe one of the bigger issues are the other players. I mean, just going through the Lamar Jackson, when I search to see his injury update, it does not look like he is going to play, although apparently the Texans are preparing like he is going to play no matter what the injury report says. But a lot of the other headlines also say not only do we see Lamar Jackson not participating in practice, but Ronnie Staley and Roquan Smith, same thing there. And those are two massive pieces on the offense and defense going forward that no matter who's behind or under center, that needs to be either figured out. But you mentioned it. If you would have told us when Sunday night, week 1, excuse me, it's 40-25 Baltimore, someone, time traveler hops into your room and says, hey, not only is Baltimore going to lose this game, but they are going to be 1-3, possibly 1-4 heading into week 4 or week 6, I should say. That would have been crazy. I like Houston here. I think Houston is a team that's not ever going to impress you with everything that they can do, but they do enough to stick around, and they're well coached. CJ Stroud, for the most part, doesn't make those game-breaking bad decisions. He'll make some head-scratching decisions, but not the ones that really, really hurt teams. Maybe a game manager, that's okay. I know that used to be a dirty word back in the day, but game managers make a lot of money in this league. I like Houston here. Obviously, I am going with the assumption that it is Cooper Rush. And the other part of this, too, is regardless of what happens this week, Lamar Jackson has a hamstring injury. That's going to stick with you. That is going to be there all year, unless, you take extended time off. And again, what does that do for him going forward? It's really unfortunate because it just seems like every time we get a chance to see Lamar unleashed, something like this happens. I really do like Lamar. It's kind of like Dak Prescott. You're like, hard not to root for this guy. And it's just seems like it's never going to happen for him, unfortunately. But in terms of this week, give me Houston. I'll take the money line minus 125. And I am going to go with the over here. I think that number is just a little too low. Guess what? Derrick Henry is still in the backfield. I think there is Zay Flowers is still running routes. I think we're going to see some points being scored. Nothing crazy, but 39.5, as you mentioned, that's wild for a Baltimore game, any stretch of the imagination. And also the other side of it, even with Roquan Smith, Baltimore's defense just might be bad. And that's something I don't think I've ever seen in my life. I don't think I've ever seen the Ravens have a bad defense. So that's another issue, but we'll see. Houston at Baltimore. We're both on Houston. And finally, some of these other games that we'll just kind of, if we have any thoughts, we do have that London game, Minnesota, Carson Wentz. They stayed in the United Kingdom. They are going to be 3.5-point favorites against the Cleveland Browns. As you mentioned, Dylan Gabriel getting the start across the pond. 36 is your over-under, folks. Carson Wentz, Dylan Gabriel in London. Well, that's an export for you. Anyways, the money line side of that, minus 185 for Minnesota, plus 160 for the Brownies. Miami, going to be even money as they head to Carolina, even money on the money line. Carolina, 1.5-point favorites, 44.5. Carolina minus 120. And I know there are a lot of people just shaking their fists that we didn't talk about this absolute barn burner between the Dolphins and the Panthers. But hey, our time is valuable here, folks. Tennessee heading to the desert to face the Arizona Cardinals. Raider Jim, you mentioned it. And even Cam Ward in his post-game press conference said what I think a lot of us were thinking. We ass. And that was a direct quote as well. Tennessee is plus 360 on the money line. Arizona minus 500. They're going to be 8-point favorites with an over-under sitting at 41.5. Detroit, 10-point favorites at Cincinnati. 10.5-point favorites at Cincinnati. The over-under there is going to be 49. Detroit minus 550 on the money line, plus 390 for Cincinnati. One stat that I did hear that's just almost unfathomable, but it encapsulates what we've seen since Joe Burrow has left, or has been injured, I should say. In the last 2 games, the Cincinnati Bengals have been outscored 14-13 when they're on offense. Now we're doing a little manipulating of the numbers because technically you only score 6 points on a touchdown, but 2 pick sixes against I believe it was Minnesota, pretty much given 14 points, and Jake Browning's offense has only scored 13. So really kind of shows you what Cincinnati's offense is doing without Joe Burrow. Maybe he does actually win MVP despite only playing 2 games, because I think he might be the literal most valuable player in the National Football League. And finally, an AFC East matchup that got a little bit of intrigue after New England's win last week. The Patriots are heading to Buffalo to face the Bills. The Bills are going to be 7.5-point favorites in this one. The over-under is 49. That will be your Sunday night football game. Plus 300 for New England on the money line. Minus 400 for Buffalo. Raider Jim, any thoughts on the remaining games?
Actually, I do. And here's my question. I think it might have been week 1, definitely week 2. We saw point spreads for, say, the Bills, and it might have been the Bills both times, plus, and I can't remember the other game. 13 points, 16 points, 15 points. How do you have the Lions playing the Bengals and it's only a 10.5-point spread? That makes no sense to me. If you want to see a game where it should be 12 to 15 points, that's the game. But again, somebody knows something that we don't know. So I'll be curious to see what we end up with on that one. I'd be willing to buy a point and take Detroit 9.5, and I think I'd score on that one, and I probably will. I'm with you. You'd like to think that New England might have a chance against Buffalo, and then I kind of like wake up and I'm not in Oz anymore, or I'm not in Kansas anymore. So 7.5, probably going to cover that. Buffalo is just lining people up. They don't care. Hey, who's next in line? Let's take them. And I think that's just going to be their whole method of operation through the entire season. They just look unbeatable right now. Other than that, the rest of the games, boy, if you really want to wake up at 6:30 on the West Coast and watch the Vikings and the Browns, you've got a problem. Call 1-800, make me stop.
Yeah, get some rest. Goodness gracious. That person can never tell anyone I'm tired. If you're waking up 6:30 on the West Coast to watch Carson Wentz versus Dylan Gabriel, goodness gracious. But no, I agree with you. The one thing I will say with that big spread, I wonder if last week maybe scared Vegas a little bit, because that plus 16 or plus 16.5, whatever it finished up at, it was really never in doubt. New Orleans, they were never seriously contending to win that game, except for there were small parts in the first half. But when the game really got going, but they were also never going to cover 17 or whatever it was. And I do wonder if Vegas goes, okay, maybe we need to dial that back a little bit.
Right.
And also, now this would be more relevant if it was later in the season, but I guess maybe the only other thing I could say, it's a dome team going outdoors in the north. But again, it's October. I can't imagine weather's going to be an issue in Cincinnati other than maybe some rain. But I don't think we're in snow time yet.
No weather issues on any of the games.
So there you go. But yeah, I that spread 10.5. Not going to touch that one, but I do like New England. I do like New England plus 7.5. I don't know. Drake May, there are moments where he goes out and he looks like he is it. But then there are moments for that New England defense that's just going to really struggle, I think, against Buffalo. I think the over might be a better play in that one for Sunday night. Just no ties. That's all I ask. No ties. But with that being said, Raider Jim, your final thoughts for this episode of the NFL Weekly.
Well, here we are. Welcome to October. We've only got 3 months left in 2025, folks. So make your Christmas list, get your Halloween candy ready to go, and start making up that Thanksgiving Day menu, because the holidays are upon us.
Yes. Still not time to say the C word, but technically we're getting closer, I guess. I'll grant you that each day we are getting closer to that. But as I always say, let me digest my turkey before you talk to me about your treat. But anyways, my final thoughts. Obviously we're, as Raider Jim said, in the middle of not in the middle, start at the beginning of October. This is the best time of year for the quantity of sports. Maybe not the quality, because I'm still a little more partial to March. I love my March Madness, or even January, you get the playoffs. But October, this is when all four, at least towards the end of the month, we're going to have all four sports firing off at the same time. Playoff baseball is incredibly exciting unless your team is in it. And then it is a roller coaster ride that you don't want to have to ride, but you have to ride it the next day. And that's our situation as Padre fans. Big game 3 for us tomorrow against the Cubbies. Winner take all. By the time this goes out, we will know one way or another. But with that being said, you just enjoy all the sports. College football is incredible right now. Hockey's going to be rolling around if that's your cup of tea, or basketball as well. And then, of course, next month we will be hearing the gyms fill up for our In the Paint podcast. And of course, we still got Breeders' Cup rolling down the pike at the end of the month. Cannot wait for all of this going forward, but just enjoy it again, because before you know it, we're going to be signing off for the NFL season, and we're going to go, where'd that time go? The time is right here. Enjoy your Saturdays, enjoy your Sundays, and really throughout the weeks now. Thank goodness we'll have some playoff baseball to join in for those Cincinnati Bengals primetime games that are coming down the horizon. But with that being said, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the NFL Weekly, presented by the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. It is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to you all very soon. Take care.